Open up your MTT, factoring and solving using all methods, practice 2. We're going to look for a GCF. It's going to be 4. 4, that's going to leave us 2x squared plus 5x minus 12. We're going to go ahead and bounce. 2 times negative 12 is going to give us negative 24, and 5 is going to go into our second column. 2 and 12, negative 12 give us negative 24, but they do not give us 5. Negative 3 times 8 gives us negative 24, and negative 3 plus 8 gives us 5. So we're going to go ahead and pretend like we're the manager. We're going to take our best player, 2x squared, take our second best player, negative 12. We're going to determine which two players have the most in common. So we're going to do plus 8x. When they come off the bench, we're going to hand them the x ball. And negative 3x. We're going to do a quick check here to make sure that 8x and negative 3x indeed equal 5x. That means I've got them grouped correctly. Now we're going to take out the GCF. 2x, 2x, 2x. 2 goes into 2 one time. Where do I have more x's? On the top, how many more do I have? 1. 2 goes into 8 4 times. Where do I have more x's? I don't, so I don't have to write it. Remember Hampton rule that because this 3 is negative, we need to take out a negative. So we're going to take out the negative 3. Negative 3 times x plus 4. Now we're going to look for the binomial they have in common. So the binomial we have in common is x plus 4. When we factor that out, we're left with 2x minus 3. Now we have to go back up and take that 4 that we took out at the very beginning and go ahead and add that to our answer. So if we were factoring, we would simply stop here. If we're solving, we're going to do 4 equals 0, x plus 4 equals 0, and 2x minus 3 equals 0. 0 pair out the 4, x equals negative 4. 0 pair out the 3. 2x equals 3, divide by 2, x equals 3 halves. 4 never equals 0, so our two roots are going to be negative 4 and 3 halves. All right, now we're going to put all of the terms on one side, solve for 0 so that we can factor. So we're going to go ahead and 0 pair out the 6x and 0 pair out the 12. So we're going to have 8x squared minus 16x minus 6x plus 12. We're going to combine like terms. 8x squared minus 22x plus 12. Now we're going to take out the common factor. 2 is the common factor. So that's going to leave us with 4x squared minus 11x plus 6. Now we're going to go ahead and bounce what's inside the parentheses. So 4 times 6 slides that over into 24 and negative 11. Negative 3 times negative 8 gives us positive 24, and negative 3 plus negative 8 gives us negative 11. So we're going to go ahead and put our 2 down in our answer and continue factoring what's inside the parentheses. So we're going to set up our 2 parentheses. We'll take our number 1 player, 4x squared, and our number 2 player, plus 6. And we're going to take a look. Negative 8 has more in common with 4, so we're going to put negative 8x. And negative 3 has more in common with 6, so negative 3x. We're going to do a quick check to make sure that those equal negative 11x. Now we're going to do our greatest common factor, which is going to be 4x, 4x, 4x. So 4 goes into 4 one time. Where do I have more x's? On the top, and how many more do I have? I have 1. 4 goes into 8 2 times. Where do I have more x's? I don't, so I don't have to write it. Now remember Hampton rule, I need to divide out a negative 3 because this term right here is negative. So I'm going to take out the negative 3, and that's going to give me x minus 2. So the binomial that they have in common is x minus 2, and when I factor that out, I'm left with 4x minus 3. If I am just factoring, I stop right there. If I'm solving, I'm going to do 2 is equal to 0, x minus 2 is equal to 0, and 4x minus 3 is equal to 0. So 2 can never equal 0, so x minus 2 equals 0. We're going to go ahead and 0 pair out the 2, so x equals 2. And we're going to do 4x minus 3 is equal to 0. 0 pair out the 3. 4x equals 3, divide by 4, divide by 4. So my roots are going to be positive 2 and 3/4. So we don't need that positive there. All right. So we're going to try perfect squares. Is 24 a perfect square? It's not. So we need to find a greatest common factor. So the greatest common factor is going to be 6. So I'm going to take the 6 out, and that's going to leave me with 4x squared minus 9. So now I'm going to ask, is 4 a perfect square? Yes, it is. Is x squared a perfect square? Yes, it is. Write my first set of parentheses. Is 9 a perfect square? Yes, it is. Write my second set of parentheses. Is this a subtraction problem? Yes, it is. Plus, minus. The square root of 4x squared is 2x. The square root of 9 is 3. I'm going to drop my 6 down here. If I were factoring, I would stop right there because I cannot simplify or factor anything else out of the parentheses. If I'm solving, I'm going to have 6 is equal to 0. I'm going to have 2x plus 3 is equal to 0, and 2x minus 3 is equal to 0. 0 pair out the 3, 2x is equal to negative 3, divide by 2, x is equal to negative 3 halves. 0 pair out the 3, 2x is equal to positive 3, divide by 2, x is equal to positive 3 halves. So my roots are going to be negative 3 halves and positive 3 halves. All right, I need to get everything onto the left so that I can have it set equal to 0. So I'm going to 0 pair out the 9. So 1/4 x squared minus 9 is equal to 0. Now I'm going to look at this 1. Is this 1 a perfect square? Yes, it is. Is this 4 a perfect square? Yes, it is. Is x squared a perfect square? Yes, it is. So I can write my first parentheses. Is 9 a perfect square? Yes, it is. Is this a subtraction problem? Yes, it is. So we're going to do plus and minus. The square root of 1 is 1. The square root of 4 is 2. The square root of x squared is x. And the square root of 9 is 3. Now, if I'm factoring, I stop right there. If I'm solving, I'm going to have 1/2 x plus 3 is equal to 0. 1/2 x minus 3 is equal to 0. I'm going to 0 pair out my 3. 1/2 x is equal to negative 3. What math operation is the 2 doing? It's dividing. What's the opposite of dividing? It's multiplying. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. So x is going to equal negative 6. I'm going to 0 pair out the 3. So now I have 1/2 x is equal to 3. What math operation is the 2 doing? It's dividing. What's the opposite of dividing? It's multiplying. So x is equal to positive 6. So my two roots are going to be negative 6 and positive 6. All right, I need this to be set equal to 0 so that I can factor. So I'm going to go ahead and 0 pair out the 48x. So this is going to be 27x cubed is minus 48x. Now, 27 is not a perfect square, so that tells me that I'm going to need to divide something out. So the greatest common factor here is going to be 3x. So I'm going to take out my 3x. 3 goes into 27 9 times. Where do I have more x's? On the top. How many more do I have? 2. 3 goes into 48 16 times. Now, I need to look inside the parentheses and see if I can factor what's inside the parentheses. Is 9 a perfect square? Yes, it is. Is x squared a perfect square? Yes, it is. There's my first set of parentheses. Is 16 a perfect square? Yes, it is. Is this a subtraction? Plus, minus. So the square root of 9x squared is 3x, and the square root of 16 is 4. Now I'm going to drop down my 3x that I factored out first, and if I were just factoring, I would stop there. If, however, I'm solving, I'm going to have 3x is equal to 0, and 3x plus 4 is equal to 0, and 3x minus 4 is equal to 0. I can divide by 3 here, so x can equal 0. 0 pair out my 4, which is 3x is equal to negative 4. Divide by 3, divide by 3. X is going to equal negative 4/3. 0 pair out my 4. 3x is equal to 4. Divide by 3, divide by 3. X is equal to 4/3. Notice that this equation had a cube for the highest exponent. That means I'm going to have 3 roots. So I am going to have negative 4/3. I'm going to have 0. And I'm going to have positive 4/3. All right, now this is an example of a perfect square trinomial. How do I know it's a perfect square trinomial? I look at the first term. Is 4 a perfect square? Yes, it is. Is x squared a perfect square? Yes, it is. Then I look at the last term. Is 1 a perfect square? Yes, it is. So now I'm going to check the middle term. I take the square root of 4x squared, which is 2x, and I take the square root of 1, which is 1. I'm going to multiply those two together, and then I'm going to multiply it by 2 to double it, because that's what would happen if we were boxing it. So 2x times 1 is 2, and 2x times 2 is 4x. So because that equals what my middle term is, this is a perfect square trinomial. Perfect square trinomial means it's going to be the square root of the first term, 2x, and then it's going to be plus 1, and 2x plus 1. And when we simplify that down, it's going to be 2x plus 1 squared. Now, if I'm factoring, I'm done. If I'm solving, I'll do 2x plus 1 equals 0, and I'll just simply solve one of them because they're both identical. So divide by 2, so x is going to equal negative 1/2. So my solution or my root will be negative 1/2. And that's factoring with all methods, part 2.